and you know, it really felt when we first watched it like a real ball, like a kind of a reminder of the power of art to bring people together, to heal in a way. Ironically, these young men are going off to war after having come together as a community. Can you talk a little bit about the origin of the story, the setting on the eve of World War I as well, and why that was appealing to you?
It's the bad news is it's by the time they go off, it's June 1916. They are going. July 1916 is the Battle of the Somme, so it's very unlikely that those boys survive, I'm afraid. This was about 18 months into World War I, and it's around about the time the British government brought in conscription, brought in the draft. So until the beginning of the year that this movie starts, it was a volunteer army. But of course, as you see from the film, they were enthusiastic about the war, and the disillusion with the war was just starting in England at this time. So it's of a very particular moment. But as you say, the important thing is that through music, they discover a way not just of consoling themselves, but of explaining what's happening to themselves, to each other, to those who perform and to those who watch.
Can you talk a little bit about creating a kind of an authentic world of this kind of music? Elgar, very, very English musician, at this era as well. Music would have maybe operated differently before widespread, repeated and recorded music that we had now. Music was performed so much in person, people singing, people learning.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about the milieu you created, and also, Roger, for you, in playing the role you did, and the kind of musical knowledge and training that you might have needed there.
Do you want to start? The music was, of course, it was their major recreation. They were all musical. This film is about the mill owner and mill workers. The mill workers would have sung. In the north of England, the choral tradition survives. There are still fantastic choirs. There are still fantastic choirs in the north of England, but they had available to them, for lack of anything else, a genuine musicality and a genuine musical knowledge. I do think the film is authentic in the everyday expertise that it displays that the community has. That's what they did.
Yes, that's completely true. And I mean, in the north, the choral tradition, the brass band tradition, the church choirs, everything, it brings people together in the creation of art directly. And I think that's hugely important. And I related to it very much because my father was a vicar, and I sang in his choir, I sang in the choir at school, I toyed with possibly going into classical singing, so and I've done some musicals, so it was very close to me. In fact, I found actually singing the staging of it, I could barely get a note because it made me cry so much. So I'm just an old softy.
I think that it's a much bigger community, the choir community everywhere. There are more people. They don't make this is not supposed to be a pun, but they don't make a huge sort of dance about it. A lot of people sing in choirs and get an enormous amount of satisfaction from it. I hope they all get to find out about the movie too.
I hope so. Anyone here sing in a choir? All right. Okay, so we have some chorus here as well. Kevin and Nicholas, I want to ask you about introducing Ray Fiennes into this project. At what point did that begin? And can you talk a little bit about his character as someone who has a bit of a shadow over him, but and that time in particular, and also what his process is like. What is it like working with him? Just curious about how he came in and worked.
We never had another actor in mind, did we?
Was that right?
No, and I hesitate to admit it, but I first worked with him in 1991. Most of my life has been in the performing arts, has been in the theatre, and also in music. I've occasionally worked in opera, and Rafe and I were involved in a production of King Lear in 1991 at the Royal Shakespeare Company when he played Edmund. So I've known him for a very long time, and we didn't have anybody else in mind. He's single-minded. He's single-minded. He's not a musician, but he set himself the goal of being able to seem enough of a musician to be a provincial choir master in the early 20th century, which I hope he achieved. His character, that also is something I find very credible. Germany was a better place for a musician to be than England. It's a lot of English musicians went to Germany because they had better opportunities there. And of course, one of the few fulfilled relationships in the film until the end, when some resolve, is a relationship between Rafe and the lover who died. It's melancholy, this film, I gotta admit, about the possibility of romantic and satisfaction. But it affects me deeply that the one relationship definitely worked was the one between Rafe and the German musician who is killed off stage halfway through the film.
Anything you wanted to add, Kevin?
No, not really. I mean, I think Rafe did throw himself into it. I mean, he did an awful lot of work. I mean, actually, he was starting learning conducting when he was performing in America. I mean, he was Zooming with our conducting coach, and he really spent a lot of time honing his musical knowledge and skill. I mean, one of the challenges we realised, actually, when we were in pre-production was we needed to get a lot of singers. And recruiting, so we did quite a big shout out for amateur singers in the Yorkshire and Northwest area, and on social media using some local choir masters. We got 1,000 responses of people who wanted to be considered to come and be part of the film. And in the end, there are 50 singers were on set a lot of the days of the filming, because they had to create the background of the town as well as be the musicians in the film. You had to see them as part of the community because the film is about community.
So I want to say we go back even further. We go back to 1989. This is so scary.
I think it's 85.
We didn't work together until 89.
We didn't.
We worked in 89.
What did we do? No, 87.
87
we worked together.
Was it 87 measure?
It was 87 measure for measure.
And the film is full. It's half the cast are almost total newcomers, in a couple of cases completely newcomers. The guy playing Lofty, first job ever. But the committee, yes, it was everybody had worked with everybody else.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And indeed, Alun Armstrong, who was in it, we were together in, how many years ago? 40 years ago, in the first production of Les Miserables.
Roger was the original Javert, the very, very first one. Alun Armstrong was the first to know that's yeah.
Scary. I think we have time for just a couple of questions from the audience, but before we do, just the last question I want to ask, maybe for all of you, because I know that the two of you have done a lot of theater. Cinema is a very different art form. The storytelling might be similar, but the rhythm, the emotive effect, all kinds of things are very, very different. As you're thinking as a film director, telling a story, what do you do differently than you would do in theatre?
This is the fourth film I've made with Alun Bennett, but the first that didn't start on stage. And from the very first sketch of it, he showed me about 5 years ago. It felt like it was a film. It felt like it didn't belong on the stage, because it felt cinematic in structure, and it felt as if the town itself needed a concrete presence. And although until the very, very end, there's not a note of music in the film that isn't played in the film. There's no background score at all. It felt that the bringing together of filmed image and music was always going to be the main motor of it. And I'm quite, although it feels sometimes, on the austere side, I'm pleased that we took the decision to use only the music that's played in the film, because it's a film about music. The music is if you like, the hero.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Any questions from you? Oh, right away, yes. The question is about the gay relationship and a gay kiss specifically in the film, and what came to mind as you were thinking about integrating that into the story?
Is there a gay kiss?
No.
No. I mean, I think the film, as I say, is not. It's an entirely uncynical film in that it's happy to believe in the people at their best, have integrity and mean well. But it is nevertheless melancholy. It's kind of pessimistic about things working out romantically between people. Everybody's in love. I'm not going to claim it's like Chekhov, but it's because Chekhov's like as good as it gets. But as in Chekhov, romantic love gets misdirected a great deal. And I think that the two gay characters are the same. They're not the same in that they have to keep it hidden. It's 1916. It's only how many years? 17 years after Oscar Wilde is sent to jail. But they're exactly the same as everybody else in that they find it very hard to get together. But so do most people in this film. So do the kids.
Thank you. Is there a question up in the balcony? Maybe if we can't see, if you could just call out. No? Okay, we will go down here. Let's go right here. Yes. Okay. Gentleman who saw you as Javert.
1986.
But the question was really about the journey from the original conception all the way through to what we saw today.
The writer, Alun Bennett, showed me, out of the blue, I didn't know he was working on it, he showed me a sketch of it. I can remember it because it was 2 days before the first COVID lockdown. He sent it to me, and we worked at it slowly. And I don't think I showed it to Michael Barker of Sony Classics until a few months before we made it. I thought we'd better get it to a place where we can show it. to Michael, who had been responsible for The Lady in the Van, which played here 10 years ago, which was the last one we made together. And I gotta say, making films is always a challenge, but I showed it to Sony Pictures Classics, and they said they'd make it, and they did.
Thank you, Sony Pictures Classics. I believe we are out of time. We'll maybe just go forward.
You also have to thank Guys and Dolls.
We have to, this is Michael Barker from Sony Pictures Classics saying we have to thank Guys and Dolls. Tell us that story.
Yeah, but I guess that's right. I run a theatre in London, and we had which generally puts on 3 or 4 shows a year, but we had a very successful production that ran 2 years, which meant I had a gap. But hey, Michael, I think I enjoyed it enough that I might try and find a way of doing it again if I can.
Okay, we're going to end right here. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to be
Question is about the tenor.
Yeah, it is the I don't want to pretend here, and there are 3 singing voices who aren't the singing, but who do, and we credit them at the end. He's an actor, and he can sing, but he can't sing that well. Roger Allam is an actor who was the original Javert. He can't sing that badly, so we had to. And Amara, who plays Mary, she can also sing. She's also a musician, but that particular voice, both the voice of the tenor, Clyde, and the voice of the soprano, Mary, are excellent student classical singers. They recorded the music before we shot, and those 2, I actually think their lip sync job is as impressive as it would have been if they were singing themselves.
Fantastic, magic of the movies. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for bringing the here. Please do check out the actor Roger Allam and director Nicholas Hynter. Thank you very much.